Rocket League has been updated for the Nintendo Switch 2. This isn't a new version, but instead just a patch that improves graphical fidelity and performance running on the old Switch 1 version. This video will specifically look at the docked gameplay experience, so let's just get into it. The patch hosts a multitude of improvements detailed in this blog post, but let's just go through them one by one. First up, the Switch 1 has two different modes, quality and performance, which are essentially 30 and 60 FPS modes respectively. On Switch 2, these are now just combined into one singular mode that offers the best of both worlds, with some added visual improvements on top. The resolution has been increased to 1080p in both docked and handheld play, although handheld still runs with a dynamic resolution, adjusting depending on the scene. There are also improvements in lighting effects. For example, here on Switch 2 you can see noticeably more bloom and intensity in the light shaft at the back. Performance mode looks pretty out of place for the 3, looking much more flat overall. Shadows also see a solid, but not monumental increase to resolution and softness. There's a slight increase in anisotropic filtering, which should help to make further away ground textures look better, reducing the overall blurriness. And we have the addition of ambient occlusion, which is most noticeable around the intersect points of objects, like below the car here. And in the patch notes, it's mentioned that there is improved augmented world detail. I tried to find differences in the background world, but as I soon found, not every map benefits heavily from this. For example, this mall map only really sees an upgrade to the grass you drive on, being more detailed with individual strands popping out that create a 3D effect not found on the original version. This other map's upgrades are more drastic. The aforementioned improved grass is present, but we're met with more background mountains, trees, banners, and distant fog that hides the low detailed mountains. And yes, this is also with the same setting for weather effects. Here, once again, we see a pretty nice upgrade to world detail and lighting. There are more neon lights on Switch 2, and the ones that were already there are much brighter, making the environment pop that extra bit more. Now let's move on to performance. Putting the two original Switch modes together shows that neither one is perfect. Frame rate issues affect both, with the quality mode being ever so slightly more stable. This isn't alarming by any means. I didn't find any serious drops that would be game changing, but you will definitely notice when the game starts to chug a bit. If we bring in the Switch 2 next to the performance mode, we see that the new console is performing flawlessly, even though it's running above the quality mode graphically. Actually, spoilers, but I couldn't find any performance dips anywhere throughout my testing. So I jumped into a less detailed second arena where I hope to find performance improve on the Switch 1. Sadly, issues still arise, but it's not terrible either way. Though for a fast-paced game like this where movement actually matters, I'd definitely be sticking to performance mode regardless. In this same location, Switch 2 is flawless yet again, but are we really surprised? One thing about this update that is a shame is that we don't have a 120 FPS option. Other consoles like the PS5 and Series X have this, so it's a little disappointing that it hasn't made an appearance here, but hopefully they'll eventually add it. For the final test, to stress each console, I wanted to throw in some games running in 2-player split-screen co-op. Quality mode here suffers, with its drops being slightly worse and more frequent across the match. The lowest I saw here was 26 FPS. Performance mode follows the same theme. Here, it only occasionally reaches 60 FPS, with most gameplay landing around the 50 to 60 FPS range. Once again, not unplayable, but still noticeable. Now finally, moving over to Switch 2, these issues have all been resolved. Quite frankly, there were zero performance drops throughout my entire match here. The experience is genuinely perfect, aside from my own wants for a higher resolution like 1440p maybe, or a higher frame rate cap. but I actually think this is a pretty good update. Okay, before we finish up, let's just take a quick look at loading times, where we see an actual good improvement. And it wasn't shown in this video, but there is the additional benefit of all menu screens feeling snappier and more responsive to use, which is just one of those little things you can't help but notice, but it feels a lot better. And here we see the switch to load the game a little bit over twice as fast. That's all for this video. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you again next video. Bye.